My name is Darren Hupke, and this is Pixels and Polygons, part of the Soundstone Network. Welcome to a new episode of Pixels and Polygons. I am Darren Hupke, the host of the show. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back and checking out another episode. Hopefully this is another entertaining one for you, and I appreciate you for coming back week after week. If you are new, it's a simple pitch. I sit down with a guest each week and I ask them a video game related prompt or question, and we talk about it. It's 20 to 40 minutes or so each episode. This can stem from topics like what's a underappreciated or below average game you love that doesn't get enough attention, or what is your history with video games? When did you start playing and when did you fall in love with them? Or why do you play the games that you play? There could be a lot of different things. The conversations can go in a lot of different directions, but the point is just to have a great and thoughtful conversation that maybe sparks your own ideas or your own interests as a listener to think about your own responses, and hopefully just have some fun along the way. If you like what you hear and you want to support the show, I've got a few different ways you can do that. I have links in the show notes below to everything that I do, and I'll highlight one of those in particular. Beat 'em Up Volume 1 is a love letter to the genre. Volume 1 of the series breaks down the Final Fight franchise and covers the entire series. So you get histories and development details, artwork, screenshots, magazine scans, a lot of artifacts from the era covering every game in the franchise, from the 1989 arcade original all the way up to 2006 and the release of Final Fight Streetwise. There's also chapters that cover where this series is now, its appearances in other properties like Street Fighter, comics, TV shows, cartoons, all those types of things. So if you're a fan of beat 'em ups, if you're a fan of Final Fight, this book has all the history and all the details I hope you will enjoy and love and find something new about one of my favorite franchises of all time. You can buy it physically over on pixelsandpolygons.net, but you can also buy digital copies over on my Patreon shop. Links to all of these will be in the show notes below, but check it out. Beat 'em Up, Volume 1. With that out of the way, we can start the episode right after an ad from one of our Soundstone Network partners.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I'm Nick McConnell, and you caught me reading the instruction booklet for Street Fighter II in preparation for my weekly stream Instruction Derby, where I take a look at the creative, fun, and sometimes bizarre lost art of video game manuals. Did you know that, according to the manual for Street Fighter II on the Super Nintendo, Ryu was born in 1964, making him 62 years young, canonically? Happy birthday, Ryu. You're looking great. Did you also know that, per the manual for Laser Invasion on the Nintendo, the UN enters a conclave in order to select a new commando? Or did you know that the dancing enemies in Super Castlevania are named Paula Abgul and Fred Askare? These important facts and many more are discovered every Wednesday at noon Pacific on Instruction Derby over at internet website twitch.tv/Nick McConnell. Part of the Soundstone Network.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pixels and Polygons, a conversational podcast about video games. I am Darren Hupke. This week we can now say returning guest. You must have heard him a few weeks ago, talking about the video game origin story. But back again on the show for our audio pleasure is Audi Sorley. Welcome back to the show, Audi. How you doing?
It's been a long time, but it's good to be back.
Yes. See, and I'm curious to know.
Like we just recorded that episode.
Yeah. I'm always curious how guests will respond to that. Are they going to try and play in and pretend that it's been a while, or are they going to buy right into it? And so many actors live among us. So there we go.
Just for you, just to kind of get into this role, I managed to not change my clothes for 2 weeks already. So either which way, we're doing this the authentic way.
Perfect. Good thing it's not it's just audio only, and there's no smells tied to the podcast medium.
Not yet.
One day soon. One day soon. Technology will surprise us all. It's 2026. It's been a new year. The year's been kind of getting going on. What are some things you're looking forward to this year in gaming? Are there new gaming things on the horizon that you're excited about for 2026, Audi?
So I've been having a lot of fun as we've been recording these. I've been having a lot of fun with the Commodore 64 Ultimate. So I'm trying to kind of get through that. And that's what I've been really excited about the last few weeks. Coming up, though, I'm not really sure, what is... I know that, Resident Evil 9 is coming out in a few weeks by the time people hear this, I guess. Which, obviously, I'm excited for. But yeah, I haven't really I've been so busy working on my job, so I haven't been able to kind of keep up with everything coming out. I usually rely on my friends over at Digital Foundry to kind of nudge me, and it's like, hey, you should pay attention to this. But definitely RE9. I'm looking forward to that.
Cool. Yeah. I realize as I'm asking that, when I was a kid, I could know everything new that was upcoming, reading magazines and staying current with everything. I knew everything that was coming. But as I'm an adult now, I like to stay busy with, all the projects, things I'm doing. I don't necessarily need to play the thing brand new day and date when it's out. And, so I'll get to something when I want to get to something type of thing, unless it's just that social event that you just can't miss it. But, usually there'll be enough noise that will, inform me to its release or its existence and things like that. But otherwise, yeah, I'm not as dialed into when and where things are going to be, which is kind of nice. It's kind of freeing.
Yeah, it is. But I still miss the era of the magazine. So that it was just, curated information, sure, but you would buy 2 or 3 different magazines, right? So you would always kind of get this smorgasbord of information from different places, especially here in Europe. We just had so many mags. So I kind of miss just the afternoons of going through different pages and just seeing all these upcoming games. We really should get back to that, huh? Yeah,
it would be nice. I wouldn't say no.
You're doing your part, though.
Yeah, my small little part. Trying to make a little zine out of it all and talk about games and everything. But it's not quite like cracking open the pages of an EGM or something like that as a kid.
No, I worked on that. The
compendium,
recent compendium. Yeah. And that was fun. I don't know how much of my work ended up in print. I know I was in there somewhere.
Well, I'm excited for that.
I grew up with it.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited to read whatever you contributed. I sent a completely unsolicited email saying, hey, I'm just a complete weirdo. I loved EGM growing up. I'm an absolute nobody that you have not heard of or anything. And that's fine.
Email you sent me.
Yeah. And I just said, hey, if you want, if you're looking for some random nerd fan to write any little blurb or paragraph, I would love to be able to contribute to something. And the email went unsent or unresponded to, which is fine.
Unresponded.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of contributors to that.
Oh, I cannot wait for that thing. Yeah. I think I technically have a digital copy, but I'm waiting for the physical thing to arrive. I'm pretty sure they sent out digital copies to folks, to backers, but I'm not into that.
I love DGM. One of my coworkers is actually James Milkey. Yeah. So I do get to pick his brain sometimes about just that era of video games. It's always fun. He's a great guy, so it's always fun to hear his stories.
I did an issue of my retro game zine last year on Final Fantasy XI, and I did the same thing, just unsolicited, reach out to him, knowing he's a big Final Fantasy XI fan from those old days, and he responded back, and he actually contributed a really long essay and article for it. So in my head, I was like, I'm making a gaming magazine with Milkman, and I'm the boss. This is the coolest thing in the world. So
that speaks to him. I've seen it so many times that he just loves this stuff, and he just loves to talk video games and talk with people that love video games. So he's a very giving person like that. He doesn't care really how many subscribers you have or anything. He's always game.
Yeah.
Which I always like when people are like that. It speaks a lot to their character.
Yeah. In his response, he was like, I'm super busy and I do not know that I can, have time for something like this. But for Final Fantasy 11, you said the right magic words. Like, I'm going to make time for this. Sign me up. I'm in. And I was like, all right, Excellent. This is amazing. Yes. All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into to the icebreaker. I've got a random question I'm going to throw your way. Let's see what you can think of on the fly. What is one of your least favorite games and one of your favorite gaming franchises?
Least favorite games. Yeah. So I collect bad video games because everyone else collects good ones. So I had to find my own niche.
Okay, fun.
But least favorite, man.
So think about one of your favorite gaming franchises, any one of your favorite gaming franchises, but what is your least favorite game in that franchise?
So my favorite gaming franchise would probably be Vulcan or Assault Suit, which consists of like Assault Suit Lenas, Vulcan. Was released as Cybernator in the West, as well as Target Earth, I think, on Genesis. So always love those games. It's kind of I got like tons and tons of like merch and whatnot from that series. The other one I was going to say is Toshinden, the fighting game on PlayStation. I'm a complete nut for that. I have like an extensive collection of just like all this merch and all the games, obviously, and anything I can get my hands on when it comes to Toshinden, which has a super rich history that like most people don't know about. But least favorite, that's a tough one because like there's quite a few, but I always find like it's the same with movies for me. I love bad movies. I've collected bad movies since I was a kid because there's just some sort of like weird sensation of seeing like someone's sincere dream die in front of you. You know what I mean? Like if you just make like a bad movie like Sharknado or whatever, like they're aware of it. But like when you see someone's like genuine attempt at creating something that they just couldn't, I find that way more endearing. And so in a way I prefer that sometimes to just a good movie, which I know sounds weird. But even so, there's probably a game I hate. There has to be, right? Trying to think of something that like, I think I got one. So it's not a game per se, but outside of like Donkey Kong Country, I really do not like rare games, and they in fact make me very kind of like nonsensically irritated and angry. Recently I was helping John Lindman with the Xbox 360 video that he did. So I went down to his place to like help capture and come up with some stuff. And one of the things that he really wanted me to do was play this game called Cameo. And fuck that game, man. I hate that game. It's rare to the bone. And it's just like, I can't do this. I really can't stand rare. So I guess that's the answer to that on the top of my head.
That's fun. Yeah, my brother does visual design stuff, and he's like a creative director for miscellaneous things for like advertisements and whatnot. But the company he worked for around the time that that new Xbox experience rolled out, where they updated from the blades into that new Xbox experience with like all the avatars and everything. Once that update like launched, it like had like a little splash sizzle video that like kind of flew through a bunch of like generic rendered like gaming things. He worked for the company who did that, and he got to actually work on a lot of like the background animations and effects and things that were there. And so as a kid, I remember, or I guess I was, old teen, early adult and all that stuff, just knowing that my brother was involved in the gaming industry for, a half second like that. It was like the coolest thing in the world. But, then what it turned out to be, it was just like, oh, well, now we're forced to use these avatars and everything. And, I'm paying Microsoft bucks to get a Fallout helmet. And I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm addicted to it. But it was good times. It was a good era. For better or worse, it was a good era. All right. Well, we want to answer a question. So this episode's topic that you selected was to talk about when a game surprised or stunned you, like that wow moment that a game has given you. So tell us about that moment, and what impacted you kind of beyond just that gaming experience there for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of a broken record on this topic, but like there is a game that kind of changed the trajectory of my life. And also, like we talked about in the last episode, this kind of experimental nature to video games and this idea of narrative structures that were kind of different from the mold, right? And nothing has had more impact on me and a bigger wow moment still to this very day than a game that was called Another World on the Amiga. It was called Out of This World in the US on consoles. And when I was about, I'd say like, it was released in 92, and I think I played it shortly after it released. It was a huge deal here, and I didn't know anything about it. I just remember that we, either my friend or I got the copy of it because it was just kind of like the biggest game ever made or like the greatest game ever made or something. I had no idea what I was in for, but I just remember I booted it up at night. There was no lights on, which pretty normal for me, but in this case it would be the perfect setting because on screen was just, if you haven't played it, it has a beautiful cinematic intro where the main character, Lester Chaikin, goes into a laboratory, and it really tense. It builds up, and a storm is brewing outside, and so he gets he does his experiment, gets sent into another world, quite literally, and from there, that is kind of all you have to go on. The game never ever tells you anything specific. The game never shows you a HUD. It never shows you a score. It never tells you the controls. All it does is throw you into this alien world, and it demands that you react to it, much like you would in real life. And to me, it was shocking. I had never played anything like this. And I just remember staring at it, the very first screen when you kind of get out of the water and you're next to the pool. To me, it was like a living thing. It was like almost like I was looking, that they were looking at me and I was looking at them. Just mesmerized. And every step felt so completely like overwhelming because I did not know what was ahead of me. But the animation is all rotoscopes. So it's really realistic. So you kind of get this uncanny valley feeling, and all the dangers, all the impact of the game is visceral. So all it tells you is human emotion. It's just like you're going to be scared, you're going to be tense, you're going to be puzzled, you're going to be relieved. Eventually you meet this other alien character who's nicknamed Buddy, and that also was just the fact that the game itself had a character that was helping you, supporting you. It's all scripted. Today you can easily see what they're doing, but back then it felt like something in this game was literally reaching their hand out to you and helping you out because they could tell you were not from here, but you help out each other. So it created this weird bond, this kind of genuine friendship. So it was kind of my first foray into just this idea that like this, virtual reality without it being like the glasses and whatnot, but like the idea that there was something real to this. So I had never ever encountered anything like this before. I had not played Prince of Persia at the time, which is probably the closest comparison, even though not really, other than the rotoscoping. But to me, it was, even at the time, I was like 7 or 8, and I just remembered I played. Every screen I went to, there's not much detail. It's all vector graphics, and so no real textures or anything, but like the fact that it gives you so little visual information meant that your imagination starts filling in all the blanks. So the world became so much larger than any other game you had played. It felt like beyond hills in the background. So you got a snippet of like, there's a castle back there, or there's hills back there. There's like a little town you can see. There's wilderness. It's all this stuff. You're never going to go there, but man, you think about it and you look at it and it becomes haunting because it exists. It lives in the game. So for me, that was the biggest wow moment I'd ever had. The fact that a game could create this sort of sense of realism by being completely alien, first of all, by just kind of triggering your emotions. That's how you kind of relate to it. And no help, no nothing. It is just simply asking you to feel. And when I was like done with it, I just remember telling my mother, it's like, I want to make video games. Like that's what I want to do in life. I want to make something like this that makes people feel this way. And so I made Bubsy, the collection.
You did your part there. Yeah.
That and Plumber's Door Ties remastered.
Yeah. You've got it. You did it. Hang it up. You've completed the goal. The dream is done.
I made people feel something.
Yeah. No, that's funny. I love the idea. I mean, obviously, that inspired you to do more. I mean, we talked about it a little bit in the last episode, but like, what video games mean to people are different, but being inspired like that to like want to like find a way to create and do that on your own, or want to like take that, whether or not you're, can actively or actually do that, as a kid, to be able to play and experience that and that movie enough to want to like also create, is amazing. I mean, I think that's as big of a wow moment as you can possibly have.
Yeah, I mean, even the making of the game, which is as interesting as the game itself, it was made by one guy, Eric Chahi, from France. His friend did music, but like, and it took him like 2 years of isolation. And it's interesting because like, when you hear, he doesn't like talking about the game because he wants people to just simply feel it. He refuses to kind of go into detail, still to this day. Which I respect. It's just like, yeah, it is a game that you have to feel, and it will become something different for everyone. Like, some people won't feel as much as I did, maybe, but they will feel different things, and that's what makes it interesting. But when you do hear kind of just talk about the conditions of what he did and how like isolated he was and how just kind of obsessed he was of getting out of this predicament of like, here's this game I can see, I can feel it, but I need to make it. And then you look at the game itself and you're just kind of like, it's almost, kind of biographical, where it's just kind of like, he says it is not, but like, it has to be. I'm telling him it is.
Yeah, the cinematic like nature of it. I mean, it's like praised for like, how it was able to like spark that that visual style, and just like the way that you kind of talked about like how special kind of the game like looks and feels. It went on to inspire a bunch of other games. I mean, technically we wouldn't have likely wouldn't have games like Metal Gear Solid or I mean, gosh, like Eco and things like that. Like
Eco is the big one because we had us on, as well as like Suda 51. I remember the first time I met Suda and I got to work with him a bit was like 2017, some 16 or 17. And I just remember that like we're both really into wrestling, obviously, but the one thing that I really wanted to talk to him about was Outer World, as it was known in Japan. And he was just like, he lit up and he was just like, that game, man, it changes you. And I was like, yeah, tell me about it. So it had a huge impact in Japan. So the minimalistic style, like I talked about, the fact that like you're not told much, you don't see much, there's not that much detail. So, but that makes it the most detailed game possible, because your mind starts filling in details, and it's really an exciting experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you originally played it back on the Amiga.
Yeah. So the first time I played was Amiga. Just a beautiful CRT monitor, just filling my room with neon blues and reds. and it was ported to like everything at the time, and it's still being ported to everything. So I did get the Super Nintendo version, and it's an interesting game because like it was picked up by Interplay back in the day, and there's a long, rich history. I think I wrote an article about this on Hardcore Gaming 101 like 15 years ago, and maybe it's still up there. I haven't checked the site in a while. But it kind of chronicles all the changes and what happened, because it was a pretty controversial thing where this American company was constantly trying to change Another World and make it more marketable. But Chahi himself was just like, do not change anything. So with every kind of port, you get more and more removed from what it originally was, because the Super Nintendo and Genesis version adds a soundtrack, a brand new soundtrack that's ongoing, which I like, but it's not the experience that's intended. And then you get to like the 3DO, and they made like brand new backgrounds and a whole new soundtrack and all this stuff, and it really doesn't fit. That version is the one I like the least, but it's also the one with the least oversight from the creator. So it's an interesting kind of look at how a publisher had something that was truly special, but they looked at it and was like, well, we have to change it. We need to make it better for our audience for, probably legitimate reasons. But for me, I always preferred like the Amiga. At the time, I preferred the Amiga version. Now I just play like the Steam 25th anniversary or whatever it's called now.
Yeah. Your article is still up on HG 101, so I'll put a link in the show notes then, so folks can check that out.
There's no need to ask me if I like the sequel. I do not. That was not made by Chahi, and as I write in that article, I do not have a lot of enjoyment playing that.
That's fun. Well, cool. That's yeah, I mean, anything else? Like what else do you think that game has done for you? Like being able to kind of play back and go back and play it. Like, do you see? Oh, go ahead.
I play it once a year. Still, I've done that since 1992. I never skipped a single year. So it has just become like an October tradition for me to play that and see how I feel about it. I'm still as blown away today as back then. It's definitely been part of my journey in terms of like when I worked in Japan, it was often a game that I kind of brought up as a standard, like that I kind of sought out in games, and always got like a lot of interesting responses to like, well, this game you might like that too. And sometimes it was just a setting, sometimes it was kind of like a similar type of gameplay. Could be anything, but it's always been much like your icebreakers. That was mine. It's always just kind of been like a game, and every time people ask me, just kind of like my favorite game, there's just no contest. It is the game that like makes me, if I ever have a down moment and don't understand why I work in this industry, which is sometimes often, I always kind of sit down, think about that, and think about the way I felt the first time I played that, and I was like, gosh, like, no, I need whoever picks up Plumbers Don't Wear Ties Remastered to feel that same way. I want them to question things as well.
That's fun. Yeah, it's a great looking game. I think just seeing like the technology, like have like the animations and like see that, like, it was special and unique even in that moment, and to still kind of see it play out. Like it's just kind of special. I mean, you did, like you mentioned, Prince of Persia. Obviously, it's that rotoscope kind of animation like look to it that it's just very unique. So like just even being able to kind of like capitalize and take advantage of technology, in an artistic way, at that time, like you can't, for an early 90s thing, like that's, it's kind of magic.
Yeah, magic is the perfect word. It's just like, something that took a lot of my different loves of experimentation, cinema, like all these things, and it just showed me what the medium could be. The fact that it didn't have to be more and more challenging necessarily, at least in difficulty wise. I mean, it's a difficult enough game, but for me, it could challenge you in other ways. And that was it was a shocking discovery, I suppose.
I'm looking it up. The what issue was this? It just said, I think it was a 1993 issue of EGM, but it was the Genesis port of it was the game of the month. It got 3 9s and an 8. So people continue to like it even as it was ported and grew from there too, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was for a long time. I mean, it was considered the greatest game ever made. And I would agree with that. It's one of the few times I would agree with such a big statement. And there was other games that came in its wake that like I enjoy a lot too, like Flashback. I love Flashback. It's not as good of a game, but just I kind of stayed with that genre a lot. Once I played Another World, I was hungry for more of these kind of cinematic platformers. And eventually, even though I don't think people picked up on it as much, but I always felt that like Tomb Raider, the first one, especially the first one, was kind of the true continuation of that genre, where you had kind of like a rigid kind of way of moving there as well, where you had to time your jump. There was kind of like a very strict rule to the movement, much like in Flashback and Prince of Persia and whatnot. So I really enjoyed Tomb Raider when it came out, but after that, I think its influence has kind of died down.
Yeah, and then I think Tomb Raider then starts to get influenced by other things. Instead of being the influencer, it becomes influenced by, the other games of the era and just became, still entertaining video game, but obviously just another one of those types of adventure games. I actually never really thought about that, but it is very true. It is like a 3D, that original Tomb Raider is really very much so a 3D interpretation of that type of thing, specifically
more
the line.
Yeah, like, because you do have Fade to Black, which is Flashback 2, until Flashback 2 came out a few years ago. And you have Prince of Persia 3D. You have all these, like, actual successors to the actual cinematic platformers that don't do it at all. Like, they try to go way in a different direction. Mm-hmm. Whereas Tomb Raider, I think, was like, no, this is exactly what I was looking for in 3D if I was going to move on from 2D. I still had a great time with them in 2D, though. It was like Blackthorn. They were still being made, and there's been a few kind of since. There was Lunark a few years ago. That was pretty good. So if you haven't checked that out, that's a good one in the kind of cinematic platformer style. And I personally would love to try my hand at creating one day, but that would kind of like Chahi himself. I think that's a project where I would have to get a little bit older and just isolate myself and make a game for 2 years, and it's like, here it is, and see what happens.
Until then, we've got He-Man.
Until they get He-Man.
Yeah. But no, that's cool. Well, Audi, we did it again. Thank you for sharing that story. It is a great game, but it reminded me again of just seeing ads in like old gaming magazines and everything when I was growing up. Always seen pictures of it and wanted to play it. And it wasn't until like the Genesis version came out that I was able to rent it here in North America. So I got it a few years after the fact, but that's a special game, and that's definitely a very wow factor worthy. So thank you so much for sharing. You can find in the links in the show notes below. I'll have a link to that HG 101 article if you don't mind. Give more people a reason to read your writing on your fandom of the game as well. Continue homework.
Writing.
Yeah. Of another era. It was from another world, one would say.
Yes.
Anything else that you'd like to leave folks with before we wrap the episode? You can find yourself on social media. I'll put some of those links down there below. But anything else you want to leave listeners with before we wrap?
Not that I can think of at the top of my head. Maybe one day we should make a book about all these cinematic platformers. We did beat them up. Why not do
cinematic platformer?
This one? Yeah.
Hey, we'll put it out there. Speak it into existence. But thank you very much for joining the show again, Audi. Definitely open invite to do it again in the future. So let's for sure connect again. But otherwise, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back again with another new episode in 7 more days. That's all I got. Goodbye, everybody.
Listen to Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. Hosts Gooey, McKenna, and friends flashback to the 90s and early 2000s with a look at the Nintendo 64's catalog and its contemporary cultural and historical context. Starting with the console's launch titles and proceeding in release order, we discuss classics like GoldenEye, Super Mario 64, and Star Fox 64, as well as some not-so-beloved games, lesser-known titles, and everything in between. Along with game-specific deep dives, we also cover other bits of pop culture from the time, like films, music, and more. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.